Yeah, I know. Is this a really stupid idea? Yes. Have you seen it before? Probably also yes. This is nothing new. I've seen this a few times before. I first saw this, I want to say a few years ago. I don't know. I think I was scrolling through the news feed, like Google News feed on my phone, and it was like, guy uses a Game Boy camera as a webcam. And okay, interesting idea. If you haven't seen this before, well, here you go. It's possible. If you really want to, you can use your Game Boy camera as a webcam. And is it the world's worst webcam? Maybe. It might be. When did the first webcam come out? Like the first time I ever saw a webcam, I think it was probably 1995. There was a store in the local mall to me called CompuCenter, kind of like a Canadian smaller version of like a CompUSA, maybe. And they had mostly computers, computer games, computer software, and Jesus, contrast is washing out here. I'm trying fix the lighting. Is that worse? I don't know. The dynamic range on this camera, believe it or not, is not the greatest. But yeah, I think it was like 1995. I was walking through the mall, and CompuCenter had a little kiosk outside just outside the store, and it had a computer set up with a monitor, and it had a webcam on it. And again, this was 1995. Most people didn't even have the internet. We were still on dial-up. Most people didn't even have the internet. What was a webcam for? The first time I saw one in 1995, and it would have plugged into what? The parallel port or the serial port. It was black and white only. I'm assuming it didn't have a microphone. You would have had to have your separate micro. Hey, this doesn't have a microphone either. Of course, the Game Boy camera obviously doesn't have a microphone. We're using a separate microphone that's off to the side. And yeah, it's a fairly simple setup, to be honest. We're just going through the Super Nintendo, through the Super Game Boy, into the Super Nintendo. That's coming out S-Video on a stock Super Nintendo into my Retro Tank, which is just converting it to HDMI. And then we can go into an HDMI capture dongle. So, yeah, again, this is nothing amazing. This is very simple. You've probably seen it before, but if you haven't, hey, there you go. Man, that contrast is really blown out. Where's the controller? By the way, this is what you're really going to see on the screen. Right? You're going to see the Super Game Boy bezel, and then you're going to see what you see on the Game Boy screen. The Game Boy screen, holy jeez, this is going to be off the top of my head. The Game Boy screen is something like 170 pixels. We call it 170p. And the Game Boy camera, the camera itself is only like 124p, 124 pixels, 124 by 124, and so as low resolution as the Game Boy screen is, the Game Boy camera doesn't even fill up the entire screen, like it's cropped, even on that. So this is what you would normally see. The cropped area shows you how many images you have left in the built-in memory on the Game Boy camera. And your D-pad will control the contrast and the brightness. There's a little bit of a delay. That seems to be making a difference there. Is it making it any better? I don't. There's quite a delay there. Turning the brightness down. I think it's better. A little more... Geez, it's a little more natural looking, isn't it? But yeah, so this is what you would normally see. Obviously, if you're using OBS or something, you can crop in, zoom in or crop out or whatever, and get it to like how we had it before. So it looks like it's just the camera. It looks like it's just the webcam. But obviously this is really what you're going to see. The Super Game Boy bezel taking up a good portion of the screen. And then your Game Boy screen in that. And then the camera itself is actually lower resolution than the Game Boy screen. Again, stupid idea. Kind of novel. It would be funny if you did this unexpectedly. Like if you work in like an IT department or something where like everyone's kind of cool and has a sense of humor for technology, and you just showed up in like a Zoom meeting and with this. I mean, if you have a professional job and you showed up in a Zoom meeting with this, you might get in trouble. But if you worked with a bunch of tech nerds with a sense of humor and you showed up in a Zoom meeting with this, that would be hilarious. That someone needs to do that. And again, like I showed you, it's not really hard to do. This is nothing special. You've seen it before. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it's just for fun. If you stuck around to the end of this, you're a crazy person. But hey, I'm a crazy person too. So, see you guys later, and I will be back with some more retro game videos in the future. Do not despair.